want to appreciate you coming out this morning. What we'd like to do this morning is visit with you and try to do our best we can to explain just where we are and what is happening. There's been so much controversy, misinformation, imagination, and everything that's gone into the program. If we are going to get any place, we have to work as a united group. Once we split apart, we have nothing. There's an awful lot of things that we have to understand, and there's an awful lot of things that the legislators are doing. There's a bill in the Springfield legislation now, not signed by the governor, but there's lots of comments that are being made concerning the bill. The governor has spent a great deal of time talking to a little over 40 different groups. I don't believe, from what I hear and from what's coming out of the governor's office, he's invited any one group into, or one person in to get advice on the bill, with the exception of the mayor of Chicago. And from what I understand, the mayor of Chicago went in, he wasn't actually invited. The governor is looking at all aspects of the bill. He feels it's very heavily overloaded. He feels that there probably is very little control as to how the bill can be administered and controlled from a legislative standpoint without creating a great deal of controversy, the wrong people getting into racing, and destroying the gaming and what the bill was intended to do. I think that what he also is saying is that he wants a bill for all of Illinois. And I think what has happened in many instances, all these 40-some groups that he's invited in to talk to him are all saying, what's in it for me? I'm special. I have to have it. And the governor is saying, I'm the governor for all of the people. And this thing has to be worked out where everyone is going to have an advantage. The bill is 400 pages. I don't know if anyone here has read the thing complete. I haven't. It's loaded back and forth for different self-interests, and he's against that. The bill for the slot machines is a long way from being signed. It's anybody's guess as to what is going to happen. But the thing that is most important, I believe, as we get closer and closer to the date when something has to be done, and that will be at the end of October when they go into the veto session, units will start having problems between themselves, between other units, and everyone tastes the blood, and very few are going to get it. The easiest thing for a legislator to do is say, hey, that unit isn't working. They aren't together. And that's what happens. When they get together, let them come back. We, as an industry, should know that better than anybody else. It's been 20 years that we've had that. And they said, well, come back and see us when you have a program, when you're all together. And instead of picking one section here that's good for just the racing, is it good for all racing, or is it good for one section of racing? And if that one section of racing is going to destroy something else that isn't in our industry, they're going to look a second time. Because what does a legislator have to do? He has to go home. He has to get his constituents to vote for him. So he's going to go in the direction his constituents are. And unless he can say, okay, this is good for everyone, he's going to have a real hard time. Over the past maybe week and a half, there's been a substantial amount of bickering within our organization. I'm really not sure what it's all about. But one of the things that I think very few people know about on the Malero bill is how did the Malero bill come about? So I'd like to tell you how it came about. And I felt very strongly about it, that if I just told you what it would be, you'd say, oh, hell, that's just Dutchess-Watt talking. So I called Bob. Bob was a legislator, as you know. He's a lobbyist now. I said, Bob, what I'd like to do is tell our people how this whole bill came about and where this $144 million that has been set aside for our industry came from. Your name is on it, and I want to make sure that I don't go over anything that you think didn't happen. Can you be at the meeting just to give credibility to the bill? He said, Dick, I can't make it. You know, Malero's having a little problems of his own right now. But he said, you tell anyone that has any question about what's happened to call me. We have his cell phone number. We have his office number. So I'm inviting anyone that thinks that I have not given you the right information to call Malero and ask where it is. This started maybe 5-6 years ago. As you know, we've been trying to get slot machines for umpteen years, about 15, 18 years now. We kept beating back and forth. We got beating back and forth by the slot machine people and the casinos. We were getting no place. I'm not usually used to losing. So I thought, well, maybe something can be done. But if it's widespread and everyone knows about it, it'll be dead on arrival. I started talking to the major casino operator here in Illinois. We were talking at the number 2 person in the largest casino operation of all. We met out of state. The casinos met, and I met with them. I tried to work out some various different formulas. First, it was just a plain flat no. We finally got around to a point where they were satisfied and we were satisfied. And what the situation was then, we worked out a gradual scale. It was an impact fee. Everyone know what an impact fee is? Anyone know what an impact fee is? Okay, an impact fee, what happened is the legislators put the casinos in direct competition with us. When you do that in various different industries, they say the one that is going to destroy the other, hurt the other, that one should pay an impact fee to put part of that profit over into where they're going. We worked out an impact fee where all of the casinos would give the racetracks, all racetracks, not Arlington, all racetracks, 3% of their gross profit. Got a lot of pushback from the smaller casinos. So finally we worked it out then that what we would do is eliminate the small casinos from having to pay the impact fee. Then some of the big casinos started complaining. So we built a graduated scale as to so much money that they made. At different levels it would increase. And then as an incentive, when it got to a maximum, it would start to decrease. It took almost 2 years to work that out. But in the last 6 months of my working with the casinos, we brought in some of our lobbyists and some of their lobbyists. We sat down in the Sangamon Club in Springfield, and we put together a package. We all agreed. It was Harrods and Penn National. We put the whole thing there and said, the casino's in agreement, and I'm sure the horse racing people will be in agreement. About a week later, for some reason or another, they pulled out. Didn't know what to do, and I was talking to Bob Malero, who was a congressman at that time. It was in the House of Representatives. I said, Bob, we've got a problem. I explained it to him. That, hell, that makes a lot of sense to me. How are we going to put this across? I said, Bob, we're going to have your name on it. I believe the only way that will get across is it's not an Arlington bill. It's a bill for the industry. And if everyone in the industry starts working toward that bill, each one is going to have a part ownership in that bill. And they're going to have to see their legislators. But I need a name to put on the bill. He said, we'll put my name on it. So from there, the bill that you got, the impact fee, which they just paid a short time ago, after a total of maybe 5 to 6 years, we ended up with the money. It's called the Malero bill. There's $144 million after going through all the court cases back and forth and up and down. And believe me, all the tracks worked on it after it got going because it was their bill. Everyone claimed credit for it, and that's what we had hoped, because then they're behind the bill. So I talked to Bob. I said, Bob, I feel bad about it. I spent almost 5 years on trying to get this thing through. Everyone claims a part of it now, but everyone's fighting about who gets what and when they were going to get it. It's backfired again. If I had kept my mouth shut in the first place, none of the controversy would be up now. But on the other hand, our industry wouldn't have had $144 million. And the way that money is divided, it goes 60% for Horseman's purses. It goes 40% for the racetracks. The 40% for the racetracks is divided down to the racetrack is to use in their portion of their 40% to rebuild whatever they have and make better facilities at the racetrack. The Horseman 60%, it wasn't decided exactly where it would go. That money would go to the racetracks, who would be custodians of it, and we had a guarantee that we would use that 60% for purses. The racetracks got together. We said, well, we don't know if we're going to get slot machines and everything is going to go. And if we put it all in one batch, purses are going to go way up here, and then if the slots don't come along, it drops down to the bottom. We destroy our industry. We agreed at that time, and this was before we knew that we're going to get so many lawsuits, that its money should be, the 60% should be divided in purses over a period of 3 years. That would have been 2011, 2012, and 2013. But then it got tied up in the courts again. So we said, okay, we've got to move that forward. But we had, at the time that the bill was signed, and by the time we got things going, we had no idea it would go through that many courts and that many delays. So now, when we did get it, our season was almost 2/3 over. So automatically that 3 would go on up to 2012, 2013, and 2014. We thought that wasn't right. We said, if we have the money, why don't we get it started right now? I think everyone's in agreement it has to go 3 years because there's a possibility of slots coming out. And if it all went right now, what would you do next year and the year after? It was never intended to be that way. And the law didn't say how it had to be that way. The law just said the money will go to the racetracks. The racing board will say which racetracks get how much money for the Horsemen and how much money for the tracks. The tracks will have nothing to say about that, but it'll be based upon how much money they were paying back into the state in taxes. Everyone agreed on the formula. Everyone was happy. Now, what has happened? The bill, I believe, and I'm going to ask Tony to go, who's general manager, to go through the procedures. So I'm just going to give you the high point. Hang on a minute, Tony, not right. What is going through there is that we felt very strongly that since the money was ours to be custodian of, we couldn't spend it on ourselves, and we had to go out to purses, that purses should start immediately. And Tony will give you the schedule of how it went. There were demands to make 25% increase. 25% of what? We're overpaying purses now. Were we to pay 25% above that? Or were we to pay 25% of what the purses were earned? You, the Horseman, actually control the purse accounts. The way the purse accounts go is the amount of money that is wagered. There's a percentage of that money that comes down to the tracks and the Horseman. After all the taxes and one thing are taken out, there's a small percentage left. 50% of that goes to the Horseman for purses. 50% of that goes to a large operation like ours for the money to run the operation. If horses were running full fields of good horses, people bet more. We all, both you and ourselves, get the equal amount. We don't get more than you. You get the same thing we get. But it goes into a purse account. We have to put that money in the purse account right after, John, I think it's 72 hours that we get on there. Then that's how your purses are generated. We thought, and apparently it was, I thought we had an agreement, but apparently we didn't, that in order to start paying this, we both had to agree. We thought the simplest way to agree is instead of going 3 years starting next year, what we would do is pay you immediately because you've got bills to pay. Some of you may not be here next year. Why wait? So what we divided the thing out. We took all of the days, the next 3 years, and the end of this meet. We took this meet off, and then we took out the necessary things that the Horseman had agreed to that didn't belong in there. And the way the thing worked out, approximately 10% of the total amount carried out the rest of this meet. Then we said we'd take 30% the following year, next year, 30% the following year, and 30% the year after that. Because there's a probability, but no assurance whatsoever, there's a probability that maybe we might have slot machines. But if we had slot machines passed, on the best case possible, it couldn't pass really to go into effect until the 1st of next year. Then it's going to take about 2 to 2.5 years before the first lever is pulled. Then it takes time to get that money out. So what we said, if we take it 10, 30, 30, 30, you got money right now. That's what we proposed. And we said for the next years, well, 3 years after that, because times are so rapidly changing, the way people wager, we don't know what's going to happen over the next 3 years. So we were saying, since the purses are governed by the amount of money that is wagered, and bear in mind we have a brand new casino, the largest in the state, right in our backyard, we said, we will take the money that is earned from racing. That is, depending upon how many horses, what quality horses, and what we do. We will take that money as we always have, and that goes to the Horseman, that purse money. Then on top of that money, we take the percentage for the 30, 30, 30 and add that to the purses for the following years. That gives you quite a substantial purse increase. But we said because we have no assurance that slots aren't going to come, the roof isn't going to fall in, someone isn't going to go out of business, we don't know what that money is going to be. It's only a fool that would say what's going to happen in these turbulent times now as to what's going to happen 3 years from now or 2 years from now. So we said each year then, we will make whatever modification. This is the base. And if there's more money coming in, fine, then we'll increase that base. If there's less money come in, we're still going to give that same amount that we had in there. So that's a guaranteed amount. The only thing that would change if all of a sudden people quit betting and we didn't get the percentage that we get from the mutual handle.